And you know, I have Stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Thank y'all to everybody who is rocking with us tonight. We got the Nation of Gods and Earths in the room with us tonight, and we're going over a whole bunch of stuff tonight. We appreciate those folks that are checking in with us. Before we move on to some other stuff, I just want to get just kind of put a bow on that last segment. Our brother Hakeem is still listening. He said he was pretty confident that the explanation that we got on the animals was what we would say. He also continued, let's see, he said all those animals are the same species. They don't know about taxonomy and biological classification. And he also says that he used to be 5%, so he's aware of the teachings. The teachings are that, let's see, there was man beneath the surface playing with explosives that created mountains and all of that stuff. Is what is
well, now we got a man in the moon too.
That's the brother's comment. So, I mean, you know, I'll just leave it at that. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. What I want to do now in this next piece here is I'm going to get to what does 5% mean. We'll get to that. But I know that there's a breakdown kind of in 3 tiers. And the first tier that I'll start with is 85%. So somebody tell me who the 85ers are.
Peace.
Peace.
The 85% is 85% of the world population that is uncivilized, poison animal eaters, slave of a mental death and power, do not know the true and living God or their origin in this world, and worship what they know not what. They are easily led in the wrong direction and are hard to lead in the right direction. That is not just 85% of the black community, that is 85% of the world population. The 10% are the rich slave makers of the poor, who teach the poor lies to believe that the almighty true and living God is a spook and cannot be seen by the physical eye, otherwise known as bloodsuckers of the poor. That is the elite, the few, the rich. They don't care if you're black or white. They take from the poor for their own selfish behaviors. The 5% is who we are, the poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachings of the 10%, for we are all wise and know the true and living God and teach that the true and living God is the Son of Man, supreme being, black man of Asia, and teach freedom, justice, and equality to the human families, to all human families of the planet Earth, otherwise known as civilized people, Muslims and Muslim sons. We are Allah's 5%. Allah birthed us from his mind, meaning he birthed the gods and earths and made us heir like him. So when we talk about who the true and living God is, we talk about the black man, who the true and living God is. Allah never said, look to me to be God. He said, you want to be God, you want to see God, look in the mirror. He made us independent thinkers. We are the 5% that exist today. We are the poor righteous teachers who teach the poor. We are the poor righteous teachers who lead the 85% into the right direction and save them, teach them to save them from their own mental death, from the clutches of the 10%. We are the 5%, also known as the Nation of Gods and Earths. The name is one and the same. Don't get caught up in the titles. Who are the 5%? Who are the gods and earths? It's us. It's all one and the same. Peace.
Let's break it down. I mean, the description was obviously point and spot on. But let's break it down a little bit more. We talk about 85%. Are we talking about in a literal sense? Are we talking about if you walk into a room with 100 people, 85 of them, like, are we talking literally?
Talking world population, 85%, meaning most of the people on this planet do not know who the true and living God is, are not aware of good, bad eating habits. They don't know their origin in this world, worship what they know not want, know not what. These are most of the people of the planet.
How do we know it's 85? Where does that come from?
Well, like, you know, when we express them degrees, they're literal, like percentages, right? How you know once you have the true knowledge of self, right, or your origin in this world, then you classify yourself as who you are. You know what I'm saying? Only, you classify, how you become a 5%? How you actually become a 5% is having knowledge of yourself, supreme knowledge of yourself, which was given to us by our Father, Allah. And as I spoke earlier, we were created in 1964 in Harlem, New York. That temple number 7 is in Harlem, New York. And that is the foundation of the nation of gods and earths. We have a national headquarters, which is located on 127th Street, 2122 7th Avenue. That is our national headquarters, right? And the 5%, once we get knowledge of yourself, we begin to express who we are, that the black man is God. And we begin to, that's our job, is to teach all human families on the planet Earth. We are the ones, we are the chosen ones. We are the ones that are blowing the trumpet of the truth. Not the so-called truth, not his story, but our story. The Caucasian man can't tell us our story, our history, because we was here, as Brother True Master said, trillions of years before he even got here. And what we teach is the misconception of that he created everything, or everything that, that we depend upon him. That's the misconception, through tradition and their religious beliefs, is that, he's, the Almighty. Like Jesus, like for example, the misconception that Jesus was a Caucasian man with blonde hair and blue eyes. But the Bible tells you that Jesus had skin of bronze, hair, of like wool, sheep's wool. So that's automatically is a contradiction, But the Caucasian or society in the world that we live in, they project a white Jesus. So we come to blow the trumpet. We're like all the prophets, like Noah and Noah and Lot. They were prophets, that came with the word of God. Just like we the God, we are the gods. I'm not a prophet, we the gods. You know what I'm saying? And the truth that I manifest is the truth of God. And people, 85% of the population are not going to accept that because they are 85%. Meaning that when we say 85%, that means that, they are in a state of triple darkness.
Yeah, I've heard that phrase, triple state.
Lacking, the triple darkness is lacking knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of their true culture.
Okay.
Dumb, deaf, and blind, triple stages of darkness.
Yeah. Well, I've heard of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and, I don't know the mathematics quite that well, but I know those are the first three things you learn. I do know that. Let me see. We're getting some love here in social media. Let me get some of this in, and bear with me. You're listening to live radio, live production, so I'm jack of all trades here tonight, so bear with me, listeners. 804-402-2893. My brother Bobby is checking us out. He's saying peace to us. The brother who called in earlier, he says that they wasted a fine moment to teach us science and failed. He wasn't asking about mountains and atoms, just how to crossbreed a cat, rat, and dog. Let's see. That's what he said. And I'm looking to see any more. Cousin Terry is saying peace. She's enjoying the show. And Hakeem is still listening. And Hakeem says, and he's got his comment's rather long, so let me read it here in its entirety, folks. He says literal percentages. So there are 350 million 5%ers on the planet. Also, I think it's English C lesson 1. Elijah Muhammad said Master Fard Muhammad sent him here to find his people. Fard Muhammad was half original and his father was Arab. Why didn't his father send him to get his people that the Arabs were stealing from Africa? The Arabs were stealing slaves from Africa before and after Europeans. The Europeans actually had to force them to stop. Anybody want to address that? I think that's reason why I asked about the numbers, I think that's where you kind of will run into opposition. And my guess is when you do run into opposition, what I found is what I know is what I know. I can share with you what I know, but if you don't receive and understand it in your own way, that's kind of on you. It's kind of what my thought is about it. And I don't want to speak for you, but that's how I look at things. And I wouldn't consider myself as part of, this way of life.
Well, anyone could be a 5%er. That's the other thing. Do you do right? Do you teach your children the truth? Those are acts of a 5%er. Are you righteous? When you were in the grocery store behind the old lady online, when she dropped that $100 bill, did you put your foot on it, or did you tap her on the shoulder and say, ma'am, you dropped your $100 bill? You know what I'm saying? Anyone could be a 5%er. 5%er means to be civilized. Civilized means to have what? Knowledge and wisdom, or teach knowledge and wisdom to all the human families of the planet Earth. To have civilization, it means you have knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, and refinement, and you're not a savage in pursuit of happiness. So anyone could be a 5%er. You don't have to necessarily say that you're God. And when we speak about those numbers, that's just not referring to people who are quote unquote righteous. There's Jews who are 5%ers. They don't say that they're 5%ers, but they do it in their ways and actions, and they show it in their ways and actions. There are Muslims who are 5%ers. There are, people in all walks of life who are 5%ers in their act, not in their profession. You know what I'm saying? They don't profess to be a 5%er, but in their actions, they are carrying out the acts of a 5%er. Now, an 85%er, they destroy within their power. See, that comes from our mathematics. Most of the people, when they don't have the knowledge of themselves, they destroy their own power, their unity. So 85er is referring to the state of mind that they are in that is being controlled by other stimuli outside of their cipher, which we would say is the 10%, who are teaching them lies. The 10% told us that we should all go vote. We do, and the masses of the people, the 85%, the masses of the people, the majority of the people who went and voted, they said they wanted a particular candidate that had the popular vote, the one that won that popular vote. But 10% said, nope, we're going to give you the other candidate. So, we have other decision makers who are controlling the masses of the people, who corral them and lead them in a direction to make them useful in their luxury, to make them rich from their labor. And this is, that characteristic is in people. We see individual people in a grocery store, or anywhere, wherever you go, at your job, who use you and take credit for what you do. That's a 10%er. He blood-sucking you for your labor. And he lives and gets rich from your labor. That's a 10%er. And he's right there in your job. So we don't have to necessarily be, you want to talk about a specific number and we're going to go to the world population and say that. No, you're not going to do that, because we're not going to just say that, the 5%ers are all black people. That would be incorrect. That's now cipher. That would be incorrect. That term can be spread to the entire planet.
Right, because there's 3 stages of a 5%er: Muslims and Muslim sons, or a civilized person. Like, we are not anti-white, nor are we pro-black. Me personally, I'm pro-truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, our father, Allah, he taught, a Caucasian man, right? But the Caucasian man can be a 5%er, but he cannot be God. Because to be God, his birthright is being original. We teach Caucasian. We have Caucasians, we have Orientals, we have all nationalities in this nation, right, of gods and earth, right? We were called the 5% nation when we were babies back in the 60s. Now, we were babies then. We're grown men now. So I have grown in my knowledge, and before my father had left, right, before he left in a physical form in 1969, he stated that we are the nation of gods and earths. That shows the growth. We are one. There's no difference. It's just a little boy growing to be a great man. The nation of 5% and the nation of gods and earths are one. It's just the 5% was when we were young, when we first got this knowledge. And as we have grown and become men, we have elevated our mind and our knowledge, and have become profound in expressing oneself. This is how you become God.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial as we progress throughout the night. We're talking about 85 and 10 and 5%. We're getting a caller. Caller, you on the live line. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Okay, it looks like we lost the caller. Call us back. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. We were talking about 85, 10, and 5, and I'm fascinated by the breakdown. I always have been with regards to who everybody is, and true, the way you broke it down when you're talking about how you looked at something is simple or complex depending on your perspective of as far as the election cycle, which I'm gonna come back to that. So don't get too deep into that part, because I'm definitely gonna come back to that. But when we're talking about the 10, let's talk about 10% for a second.
The upper 1%, as they want to say, the upper 1%, which is what? Knowledge at a cipher, isn't that back to 1 again? So we still got the 10 in there. But anyway, go ahead. That's mathematics.
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said. You just lost me that quick. Oh my goodness. All right, we gotta let's see.
Now you blowing up over here.
Yeah, we are. Ain't no half step on Marcus J. Live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Caller, you on the live line. What's your name? What you want to get in on? Caller, you're on the live line. Caller, we lost you. Okay, they're calling, but they're hanging up. All right. Yeah, when you said that last piece, I was like, huh? But let's talk about the 10%, and until the callers kind of get themselves together. In my early studies, and I didn't study the nation that deeply, but I did, study it a bit, because I went through a period of spiritual awakening where I was searching for something. I was raised a Christian, and it just never sat well with me. Ain't no half step on Marcus J. Live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Caller, you on the live line. What's your name? What you want to get in on?
Yes, I want him to explain, what is a Muslim son? What does he mean when he say a Muslim son?
Okay.
A Muslim son is a Caucasian man that goes under the study from 35 to 50 years to try and learn and do like the original man. That's a Muslim son, a Caucasian man going under the study of becoming a Muslim. You have white Muslims.
Yeah, he asked the question and then he dropped. I think he wanted to ask his question and then listen to it offline.
And it's different.
That's a good question, actually.
It's different ones in different. I would say, you've seen them before. They're allowed to wear our flag, but they must put a sword on the upper part of the flag. See, they have the star and the crescent, but a sword is on the top. Meaning that they have gone through that study from 35 to 50 years to learn to do like the original man, so that they could clean themselves up and come amongst us and do trading. That was something that Muhammad put them under. When I say Muhammad, I say Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah during that time in Arabia. But that's, that study, and it was the original man's school of thought. All of these things stem from the original man. All of the mystery systems stem from the original man.
When we say mystery system, I want to come back to that. because we're talking about world religions when we say that. Are we not? Okay, we're gonna come back to that, sister. You want to? Okay, you good. Back to the original thing that I was getting into about the 10%. Like with me, you know, I went through a spiritual awakening that was started with the death of a family member. I was raised as a Christian, and I was a Christian my whole life. The death of a family member set me kind of, you know, in a bit of a turmoil where I was searching, and I never felt comfortable with Christianity. I just didn't. I was raised that way. I was a kid, like many of us, get up on Sunday, go to church, go to Sunday school. You know, a lot of folks did that. I was one of them, but I was never comfortable with it. And then when I had a death of a family member, I was very angry. I was angry at God and angry at religion, and that's just kind of where I was. And I went through a process where I was studying a lot of different ways of life and religions and mystery systems. And I personally came to the conclusion that most, not all, but most have their merits, but they don't have the ultimate. Like, you have to know inside of you what works for you, because if you try to squeeze yourself into someone else's box, then you're going to be worse off than you were when you had nothing. Having said that, we talking about, because when you said mysteries a minute ago, I want you to expand on that. What are we talking about when we're talking about that?
Well, we're talking about world religions. We're talking about secret societies, dealing with Masonic law, dealing with, you know, the different systems that came out of, you know, the continent they want to call Africa, but we call it as Asia. But all of the sciences that came from us, even down to simple masonry. Moses, or Musa, they called him the master builder. He was a master builder, but that he learned from the master builders who were in Kemet. All of these schools of thought, all of these religions have its origin in the original man. Even Buddhism, they say, you know, Dhamma or Buddha was original man. So he, you know, also spread religion throughout the world. We talking about, you know, even like the God added on Tuba about Jesus, you know, or Yahshua or Isa, or you know, he was an original man. You know what I mean? He had skin of bronze and hair of wool. All of these schools of thought, you know what I mean, even, you know, down to the other prophets that was so-called brought religion. You know, Abraham was an original man who was called the father of religion, who gave you Christianity and Judaism, along with, you know, not even Christianity, excuse me, not Christianity, but Judaism and Islam. You know, through his lifeline of Ishmael, who began the line of Islam, and, you know, was it Isaac, Jacob, and began, you know, Christianity. But all of these have their origins within the original man. So all of the schools of thought has its origin with the original man.
How does that play into the 10%? And
well, that's great question, because now you have people who sought to take hold and take figurehead of these religious fashions and these mystery systems, who now were, you know, doing it for profit, and they were using, you know, the mystery system as a way to propagate, you know, fear, you know, using it as a control mechanism, you know, to control the thinking, the movement and activity of the people. Was used and governed by these religious systems. I don't.
Just to simplify it a little bit, I mean, you know, you had this small group of people with this knowledge, you know, that kept it amongst themselves. And the only way that you could become privy to this knowledge, you know, is to have some type of association. So they made sure that this knowledge was kept in amongst a small group of people, hence 10%, you know, amongst a small group of people, and not disseminated, You know, you had to give your word. You know, that's part of initiation. You have to give your word that you will maintain this. You know, and not just give this out freely. You know, and with that comes hand in hand the control of the masses, because we're using this information to control a larger group of people, hence the 85%, you know, and keep law and order and make sure they, you know, keep control, basically, you know, and make sure they do what we want them to do and what we will them to do. You know, they act according to our will, you know, so to speak. So you can see the 10 and the 85 and the 5, because it's always going to be a 5, you know what I mean? And that 5 is like the great equalizer, because, you know, even, you know, and I don't like to reference the Bible a lot because I can't say that I'm you know, an expert, so to speak. But I do know that, you know, prophets have come, you know, to be the great equalizer and to get that word out, like Jesus, you know, who went amongst the temples and things of that nature that was concealing that knowledge, and that were, you know, basically making themselves rich off of the labor of the masses. And, you know, his whole thing was, no, this, you know, you shouldn't be getting rich off of this. Everybody should have this knowledge. You know, this should be equal. He taught freedom, justice, and equality. You know, so it's always going to be a 5%. It's always going to be people out there teaching the truth. And that's where the show and prove comes from. Don't take anything on face value. Don't even take what we're telling you on face value. Go look it up for yourself. Don't look for somebody else to give you the answer. You know, go do the knowledge. We all have minds and we all are intelligent beings. Go do the knowledge for yourself. Go digging. If it don't satisfy you, go looking, you know, until it does. Find your own answers.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I definitely dig that, because I think oftentimes, you know, people expect to be given knowledge, and you can't be given knowledge, because anything that's worth having, you have to work for it. You got to work for knowledge, and if you don't want it, then you ain't going to get it, brother.
Right, and speaking on the 10%, the knowledge that they are keeping, you know what I'm saying, is actually the knowledge that he got from us. Everything that he knows, he got from us. You know, Kemet, Egypt, great universities. We were mathematical scholars, builders, right? And he was still living in the caves of Europe. So once he came out...
When you say he, are you referring to the Muslim son?
Right, exactly. Okay. That was my next word, the Muslim son. He went under the study.
And I specifically referenced that because
right, he went under the study.
Question where you got.
And once he went under the study, right, it's like the Bible being revised. You know, he used the knowledge for his own growth, you know what I'm saying, for his own luxury, right? And that's his job, you know what I'm saying? And how the 85% came about was actually through the process of slavery. That's how they came about, how they became blind, deaf, and dumb, as we say. You know what I'm saying? Because in the process of slavery, we were stripped of our knowledge, our wisdom, and our understanding of who we were. We were stripped of our name, our land, and our language. We were stripped of, you know, all that. We were stripped of. They replaced it. We were now located in North America in their own land. We began to speak English, which was their own language, right? And we were taught religion, his religion, which is called Christianity. So this is how the 85% came into existence, being stripped of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, which was the majority. You know what I'm saying? When we became slaves, you know, we were the majority, but they told us that we were the minority. You know, we outnumbered them 11-1. But see, what they taught us, what we taught them, they utilize it to those that didn't have the supreme knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of themselves. So they fell, you know what I'm saying, to his, basically what he did was he gave half truths. He mixed a little bit of truth with a little bit of lies so that he can benefit. And that's the difference between a 5%, a 85%, and a 10%. You know, like I said, the 85%, they the slaves, man.
I got a question that I want to ask you. but I'm going to ask it on the other side. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask a question that I'm pretty sure is going to rile up the room. That question is, and I don't want anybody to address this now, I'm going to ask it on the other side. But the question is, if black man is God and the white man was created, then how did the white man come up, so to speak? We're going to talk about group economics. We're going to talk about community building. But we definitely going to get into this white man and how we are living in the world and the way we're living now. I asked that same question to another group that we had in here. We had a very interesting debate, and I'm pretty sure we'll have one here tonight. Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to take a break. Actually, before we do that, let me get some love from our brother Craig Bowen. Master, what's going on, brother? Peace to you. We're going to take this break, and when we come back, we're going to get into that stuff that I just mentioned, and hey, probably some more. The phone lines are open. Facebook Live, I'm going to shut you down and bring you back up. Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Be back in a few, y'all. Stay with us.
Is my mic on? Oh, okay. Legacy Internet Radio. It's your girl, the First Lady, comedianess, Lissa P. Ow, ow! Make sure you're tuned in to the #1 internet radio station around, Legacy Internet Radio. Be sure to check out our website at www.legacyinternetradio.com, or you can download the free TuneIn app. Go to the search, type in Legacy Internet Radio, and there you'll have us. Legacy Internet Radio, where independence is the key to building your legacy. Ow, ow!
Title.